Hello everyone, mabuhay! You're about to watch Research Lecture Series. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon so that you will be notified with the upcoming series. You may also share the link to your students, classmates, or friends. Enjoy watching! This is a research spectrum that presents a snapshot of the entirety of this Research Lecture Series. In Series 1 to 3, the first tier or level was presented, particularly the meaning, nature, and classifications of research. In Series 4 to 6, the second tier was elaborated, particularly the research methods, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. For Series 7, the third tier or level comprising the research designs, exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory shall be discussed exclusively. This series aims to present the meaning of research design and provides a contrast among exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory research designs. Research design is a set of plans and procedures on how to carry out a study which is determined at the initial stages of the project. It is about the provisional decisions taken about the research at the initial stages of developing the project, says Parthing. It involves developing a plan or structure for an investigation, a way of conducting or executing the study, according to Hepper, Wampold, and Kibligan. Choosing the right research design will help in minimizing, if not eliminating, wastes and errors. An analogy that may help in understanding this concept is an architectural plan that presents the details of the house design prior to its construction so as not to encounter imminent problems such as durability, comfort, aesthetic appeal, and wastage of time, materials, and costs. The plan must be faithfully followed so that these glitches will be avoided. The three commonly used research designs are exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory. These designs are consecutively undertaken in three phases or progression, in which exploratory design serves as baseline study, followed by descriptive, then exploratory design according to Srivastava and Rego. This typology is expounded by Grinnell and Unruh, and the division of the knowledge continuum into three parts, exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory, is a useful way of categorizing research studies in terms of their purpose, the kinds of questions they can answer, and the research approaches they can take in answering the questions. In developing a research plan, the investigator considers the types, subjects or objects of study, instruments, tools, and procedures needed to answer these problems. Different research designs require different resources and procedures, just as constructing a house design. An exploratory research, for instance, may require collection of specimens that will serve as the object of the study, while a descriptive research may involve people who will serve as respondents, while explanatory research may assign groups as subjects of an experiment. The three research designs have also varying data gathering techniques. Finally, each design employs distinct tools and procedures in the collection, treatment, and analysis of data. Exploratory studies intends to provide baseline data about concepts, social processes, or phenomena that are still vague and with very limited information. The term implies that not much is known, which means that a survey of literature failed to reveal any significant research in the area. Thus, you cannot build on work of others. You must explore the topic for yourself. Exploratory research design is used to make preliminary investigation into relatively unknown areas of research. It mainly concentrates on understanding the topic and identifying variables. Such baseline information may include descriptive facts, folk concepts, cultural artifacts, structural arrangements, social processes, and belief systems normally found in the group, process, activity, or situation. Finally, exploratory study is anchored on the following assumptions. The topic has never been studied before. The people in the sample have personal experience in or knowledge about the topic, and the participants are able to talk about the topic. Exploratory researches are often flexible with indefinite problem statement. As knowledge of the variables increases, the researcher may have to change direction. The design is flexible and adaptive and changes as the area begins to become more clear to the researcher. After gaining insights into the phenomena, specific research questions may be raised. Not every study will have an explicit statement of research problem, but every worthwhile research design contains an implicit or explicit identification of some issue or problem, intellectual or practical, about which more information is needed. Naturally, the actual wording of the objective will depend on the reason for which the exploratory research is needed. For example, when the information is needed for developing a questionnaire, the survey instrument, for a large sample descriptive study, the objective is to identify the variables and their constructs, explained McNabb. Exploratory studies involve few samples and utilize non-probability sampling technique. The basic exploratory design requires the personal involvement of the researcher with a small number of people, usually less than 25. Uses purposive or theoretical sampling occurs in a small, circumscribed geographical setting and uses either field notes or audio tape transcriptions of interviews. On the other hand, Daniel says that sample size is limited to a very small of elements, say fewer than 20 elements, and a non-probability sample design, for example, purposive sampling, will be the favorable choice. Moreover, Given proposes 15 to 25 participants for researchers aiming for saturation of themes. However, if the researcher wants to present data on men's versus women's perceptions of research phenomenon, the sample would need to be 15 to 25 men and 15 to 25 women, or a total of 30 to 50 participants. Focus group discussions, or FGD, requires 6 to 12 people, and the discussion takes 60 to 90 minutes using various thematic questions and issues in a structured yet relatively informal manner. On the other hand, Will provided more figures for sample size for the following qualitative studies. 1 person in the case of phenomenological or case study, 4 or 5 people for case studies, 6 to 9 persons for focus groups, and range up to 30 or more for grounded theory creation, or 30 to 50 or more for ethnographic study. According to Wood, Rosker, Kerr, and Brink, the strongest exploratory design is based on repeated interviews, observations, or both of the same people or phenomena. Exploratory studies are guided by emerging theoretical framework rather than by an established theory. Stebbins expounds that during an exploratory study, researchers do think deductively at times, although they do so largely within their emerging theoretical framework rather than within established theory, and set of hypotheses deduced from it. Mostly, such hypotheses are in the mind of the researcher and are not spelled out. An example is the case study conducted by Holzwe and others, titled First Case of 2019 Novel Coronavirus in United States, which reported the identification, diagnosis, clinical course, and management of the case, including the patient's initial mild symptoms at presentation with progression to pneumonia on 9 days of illness. It utilized one subject, a 35-year-old male who has a travel history in Wuhan, China. The methods employed were diagnostic testing of collected specimens on different days and clinical observations for 11 days. The study recommended the need to determine the full spectrum and natural history of clinical disease, pathogenesis, and duration of viral shedding associated with 2019 nCoV infection to inform clinical management and public health decision-making. Descriptive design is undertaken after baseline data are established or after variables are identified in an exploratory study. It is often builds upon knowledge gained from exploratory studies or provides findings that inform explanatory studies. Data are collected on the group's characteristics, attributes, and/or experiences. They provide a description of an event or help define set of attitudes, opinions, or behaviors that are observed or measured at a given time and given environment, which may be either cross-sectional or longitudinal. A research is considered descriptive if it either provides a snapshot view of a single sample measured once or involves measurement and description of a sample several times over an extended period. Descriptive research is a type of quantitative research that is usually preliminary to more controlled experimental or correlational studies and is not in the same domain as qualitative research. Descriptive studies usually entail large samples, yet data collection is flexible. Descriptive designs have flexibility in the methods that can be used to collect data, often leading to more rapid collection of data and cost savings. In this phase, the variables identified are collected using tool or instrument like interview, questionnaire, and others, and descriptive analysis is performed. Descriptive research questions are normally answered by the collection of quantitative data or by a combination of qualitative and quantitative data. It is uncommon for a descriptive study to rely solely or even predominantly on qualitative data. Methods of data collection in descriptive designs include observations, both participant and non-participant observation, questioning in the form of either interviews or questionnaires, physiological measures, and available data such as artifacts and written records. Questionnaires are a popular method used to collect descriptive data. They can be completed face-to-face, through a mail, or online. Research findings of descriptive research are treated using descriptive statistics such as mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and range. The data collected from a census or from a sample are treated using descriptive statistics such as frequency distributions, the usual starting point for summarizing data, measures of central tendency, means, medians, modes, measures of variability such as ranges, variances, standard deviations, measures of relationship, especially correlation coefficients, and various graphical techniques for displaying data. Descriptive designs does not manipulate variables nor apply treatments. Descriptive designs provide a picture of a situation as it is naturally happening without manipulation of any of the variables. They examine variables in natural environments and do not include treatments provided by the researcher. No manipulation of variables is involved in a descriptive design according to Burns and Grove. Martin and Bridgman expound that in correlations research, an independent variable is often called a predictor variable and a dependent variable is called criterion variable. Correlational and comparative studies fall under descriptive design. The two most commonly used types of descriptive designs are comparative and correlational, claim Boswell and Cannon. The comparative design, like the correlational design, is a descriptive design because it does not control or manipulate the independent variable. Descriptive correlational designs are used when researchers are interested in explaining the degree and characteristics of relationship that exist among variables or groups. Other than correlation, the other test of relationship is regression. It is used to fit a relationship between two variables such that one can be predicted from the other. Correlation establishes association between or among variables. In a simple correlational design, the variables of interest are measured at a single point in time and the relationship between these variables is examined. When properly normalized, the correlation measure is a real number between -1 and +1, where correlation value of +1 indicates that the two phenomena are identical. A correlation value of -1 means that they are diametrically opposite, and the correlation of 0 means that they are uncorrelated. The statistical tools used to calculate correlation coefficient are Pearson product moment correlation or Pearson's R for interval or ratio data, Spearman's rank order when one variable or both are ordinal or rank, and Kendall's tau if the data set is small with many observations equally ranked. The primary limitation of the simple correlation is that no single explanation of a significant correlation, example, that A causes B, B causes A, or another variable causes A and B, can be ruled out. Correlation does not imply causation. Creswell says that a statistically significant relationship, if found, does not imply causation or cause and effect, but merely an association between the variables. More rigorous procedures, such as those used in experiments, can provide better control than those used in correlational study. While factorial designs, two-way, three-way, four-way, and others approximate the magnitude of each factor variable, experimental designs determine the specific factor and eliminate other plausible factors that could affect the existence of causality. Although absolute causality cannot be established in a descriptive study, it is possible to accumulate extensive evidence to support causality. Comparative design is used in comparing the means of two or more groups. The term comparative is used if the purpose of the study is to describe phenomena by comparing two or more groups or two or more variables. An example of two comparative groups is a research that tests the difference of two categorical variables, male and female, and one dependent variable, math performance. The statistical tools t-test, Mann-Whitney U-test, Wilcoxon U-test are used to calculate data from two samples. In comparing the means of 3 or more groups, for instance, PISA mean scores of China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines, the analysis of variance or ANOVA, Kruskal-Wallis, Welch test, Brown-Forsyth procedure, and James procedure are employed. Conclusions can be drawn about whether differences exist between groups, but the reason for differences cannot be drawn conclusively. Explanatory design is employed to establish causality between variables that cannot be undertaken under descriptive design. After descriptive studies have provided a substantial knowledge based on the research topic area, you will be in position to ask very specific and more complex research questions, causality questions. These kinds of studies are known as explanatory studies according to Grinnell and Unruh. Explanatory design discards plausible rival hypotheses. An explanatory or causal design aims to prove that the independent variable cause changes to the dependent variable and that there are no explanations for changes noted in the dependent variable other than the influence of the independent variable. It aims to identify causality, and the focus of the design should be on eliminating plausible rival hypotheses. The purposes of explanatory research is to reveal the causality between variables, as well as to show both the direction and the causes of connections. Causality are established through experiments in a controlled setting. Explanatory research is conducted by using experimental studies, and true causality can be only established with an experimental design. Explanatory studies are often conducted in the laboratory since this is the environment that affords the researcher the most control over the situation. ends our research lecture series for today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon, and share the link to your students, classmates, or friends. Thank you for watching.